Hello to everybody who has shown up early. Thank you so much for being punctual. Appreciate it. We are going to kick things off in a couple minutes here. And so thank you for your patience.
Maybe they were expecting that you would say that early bird gets the worm and you're gonna offer a prize.
Yeah, right. There will be prizes at the end if you fill out the survey though. So stick around to the end, fill out the survey, and I think we're doing some Amazon gift cards or something.
Yeah, so we are incentivizing late owls rather than early birds. We need to change our strategy. Point taken, guys. We'll work on it.
Got it. All right, we'll give, looks like we still have a couple of people joining right now, so we'll give them a 30 more seconds-ish. Then we'll start this. Let's see. And all right, let's get this going. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. So everyone here, thank you so much for attending today. Really appreciate your time. So for our webinar today is going to be going through SharePoint and essentially how we can optimize and enhance it with the Power ecosystem, such as Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate. Next slide, please. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Nick. I am the sales manager here at AlphaBOLD, and I've been doing kind of customer-focused sales for the past 10 years. And ultimately, I just really like technology and seeing how it can be used to optimize business processes. And we are joined by Tayeb Ali, who's our VP of Consulting, and he's going to be running through the demos today, as well as the majority of the PowerPoint presentation. He is a guru here. He's got 15 years of experience in consulting with business management and cloud implementations and digital transformations. So a lot of knowledge transfer there, and hoping that you guys will find some insights. Next slide, please. So a little bit about what we're going to be going through today, just an introduction to the Power ecosystem. Then we'll be doing some demos throughout this as far as integrating Power Apps with SharePoint and what kind of obstacles you might see when doing that. And then also looking at how we can remove some manual processes with Power Automate. And before we do our who we are, I do want to launch a couple polls here just to get a sense for what you guys are used to. So I'm going to launch the first poll. It is, are you currently using SharePoint? Just simple yes or no. It would be great to know. And we'll just leave this one up not too long because it is pretty easy and looks like we got a lot of yeses, so that is good. Glad to see people are doing that. I'm going to close that now. And then since there are so many of you using it, we'll launch this one. Are you happy with how you're using SharePoint, or do you feel like there is something that could be improved upon? I'm guessing there's something that could be improved upon, and that's why you're here today. Wow, looks like we got like a 60-40 split here of yes and no's.
So no, 40% were not happy. Guys, we'll tell you some jokes to make you happy as well.
Do you have any jokes?
Well, no, that was the joke.
Okay. All right, closing that one up, and let's do one more just to see if you guys are actually using Power Apps or Power Automate right now. Doesn't necessarily have to be with SharePoint. We just want to see if you guys are familiar with these at all. And looks like this one's a 50-50 split, yes and no's. All right. Couple more seconds here. Perfect. Yeah, 50-50 split on that one. All right, so thank you guys for your responses. We really do appreciate it, and it helps us kind of create more content that'll be valuable to you in the future. So a little bit about who we are as AlphaBOLD. We are a consulting firm here in Carlsbad, California, which is North County, San Diego, and we are 70 plus members of our team, and that's operations as well as technical and functional consultants. And kind of what we specialize in is that Microsoft realm. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, and so we specialize in CRM, ERP, SharePoint, DevOps, QA, AI, IoT, BI, the whole shebang. So we really like to provide solutions rather than just like a kind of one-stop shop here. At the top of this slide, you'll see some of our customers who we've been working with for some time now. And then over to the right, you see kind of some of our core values that we really like to stick by as far as accountability, which then lends itself into trust. So we want to build trust not only internally, but with our customers. And then we like to give back to our communities. And that's a big core value for us as well here at AlphaBOLD. Next slide, please. And this is where I'm going to hand it off to Tyab, who's going to take us through a couple demos as well as the rest of the slide deck. If you guys do have questions at any point during this, please enter them in the questions box. I'm going to be monitoring them, and we'll stop periodically to answer those. All right, Tyab.
Thank you so much, Nick. All right, so today we'll be talking about Power Ecosystem and more importantly, how it has changed the development landscape in context of SharePoint. So as far as Power Ecosystem is concerned, it's essentially a combination of Power Apps, Power Automate, which is the new name for Flow, and Power BI, which is also built on top of Power Apps. And the reason for this huge adoption of Power Ecosystem is because all the underlying work that Microsoft had done on the Azure infrastructure. So what they have done is that they have made all the line of business applications, including SharePoint, available through common data models and through integrations. And as part of this, what PowerApp allows you to do is to create forms that can be done very, very quickly. And it has simplified building those CRUD operations, create, read, update, and delete. The second barrier to adoption of a system used to be how it integrates with so many other systems, because you have to pull data from different disparate systems. That is what they've solved with Power Automate, where you can do quick workflows. And then obviously, once you have that, you have a pretty robust application. The only thing that is missing is analytics on top of that, so that you could look at some of the trends, and that is done through Power BI. So we'll talk about each one of these in a lot more detail. But before we go into the details of each one of these, I want to go into SharePoint. I know most of you are using SharePoint, so I'll keep the SharePoint portion nice and sweet and short. So I do want to say one thing though. A lot of the companies who are using SharePoint even today, they're mostly using it as a document management system, which is amazing. That's how SharePoint started. And it was primarily a document management system. It would give you versioning on the documents. It would allow you to have one single source of truth for those documents. But things have changed and evolved over time. What has happened with SharePoint is that they have improved the visualization aspects of it, and they have tried to build it into more of a framework that's a collaboration framework. So for example, at AlphaBOLD, we provide services in SharePoint as part of our collaboration practice, as well as we use internally SharePoint to collaborate between teams and to take on different initiatives, internal initiatives, and we use SharePoint extensively for that. And it's more of a collaboration portal. And the third kind of step there, which is not necessarily mandatory, but it adds to the user adoption, which can be a challenge with any business application rollout, which is how you can make your SharePoint a representation of your company's culture. And that's where branding comes in, and how you can make the look and feel be more in line with the rest of the applications that you have within your organization. So I'll probably show you an example of each of these just to give you a perspective on how it can be used. But today, just so you know, we have transitioned in SharePoint from classic to modern. So anything that we talk about in context of Power Ecosystem, we're just going to be talking about the modern pages and the modern design, which looks similar to what you see on your screen. So you have many artifacts, you have lists, you have documents, you have sites, and then you can do hub sites and follow different sites. So you get updates on that. What has also changed is the ability for SharePoint to be able to integrate with other applications. So now with the modern design, it's really very easy to incorporate a web part, which could be a part that is an existing application that you have. So for example, you can embed Power BI dashboards directly into your SharePoint using this simple plus button here. You can embed Power Apps. You can integrate it within the context of your lists with, say, Power Automate. You can have pre-built web parts for events. It wasn't this easy ever, but to be able to customize SharePoint to make it that collaboration tool that it ought to be in order for you to be able to gain the maximum benefits from SharePoint implementation. What has also changed is that now everything is responsive. So it allows you to have access to your SharePoint sites and all of the content and the collateral that you have across all the devices. And it's kind of device agnostic now. And you have various features built in for you so that you could keep yourself up to date. So when an item gets uploaded, you want to get a notification, you can set up alerts for that. You can use it as a way for your organization to discover people through an org chart and stuff like that. So it's all in there. You have nice news and announcements, feature sets, a lot of pre-built web parts, very easy to embed them into the sites, and then the ability to have it across all devices. That's what kind of driving the adoption of SharePoint. And the last but not least is that it's part of the Office 365 ecosystem, which means that with Office 365, you get SharePoint. You can use it for collaboration through Teams. It serves as the backend for Teams. We covered that piece of it extensively in my previous webinar, so we won't go into a lot of details of that. But we're more than happy to share that recording with all the attendees of today as well, so that you could see how Office 365, Microsoft Teams, and SharePoint come together. But today, I just want to give you an overview of a branded SharePoint, what it looks like in the demo, and then we are going to go into the Power Apps. Let me just drag my screen here. I hope you can see on your screen the intranet portal that we use here locally at AlphaBOLD. So you can see this doesn't look anywhere close to what I showed you in the images that I had in the slide deck. And the reason for that is that we have it branded. So we kind of have, we're using it, and we have like a section here for latest announcements. So we have Thanksgiving holidays coming up. We have latest news. And then if I scroll down here, you see we have different sections in here. And they're all branded based on our colors because we have so many remote employees, as well as with pandemic, people are working from home. So it's very important that they understand what our values are, for example. So I have a carousel here that talks about our core values. So it's kind of our means to instill a little bit of our culture in the board enthusiasts who work at AlphaBOLD. We also have a section here that allow us to see any nominate people for prizes. You see the nominations for the month, Lifesaver Award, Board Enthusiast, Core Value, all of that is in here. And then you have a suggestion box. The way it is organized on the top is that you have a menu, and each practice has its own menu where they go and they manage different site collections, and all the content kind of gets stored there. We have our administrative staff as well as support staff organized under departments. And then we have clients, resources, important links, so blogs and vendor training stuff would come in here. And we have a lot of automation within our intranet as well. So for example, if I go in and I clicked on blogs, it brought me to blogs. But let's say if I go in and I say I want to do blog submission. So I can go in here, I can upload a blog, and you see that I have here a complete automated through Power Automate way of automating the process. The documents get submitted, it goes to the first approver, the second approver, the third approver, and so on and so forth. It finally gets approved before it gets published to the website. The reason I'm showing you this is the capability of SharePoint for you to automate processes in context of your documents. So any process that you can think of in your organization that has a bunch of documents that go around, there are a bunch of approvers for those, you can automate that within your SharePoint instance. Lastly, what I want to show you is we have these client sites. So what we do is for all of our clients, we set up a client site. So I'm just going to go in and I'll click on this one. So what we have done is we have templatized these client sites, and all of our methodology is kind of baked into this, which means that let's say if we onboard a new customer, I come in here now, I've done a meeting with them and I want to do meeting minutes. I just click on this and it just gives me my nicely formatted template for my meeting minutes. Similarly, I come in here and I go to say any other document in here. I just get that nicely formatted document that is ready for me to add content and stuff to. For example, if I do assessment kickoff here, it will open up my assessment document, which is again a presentation which will be pre-branded based on our branding, and you just have it and it's ready to go for you. So it just saved a ton of time for our people as they are kind of coming in and they are adding content. It just templatized the whole thing. And then we use extensively something that I think most of you are aware of, which is metadata tags, so that it helps you with finding content, searching on that content, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of what I wanted to share with you from an overview standpoint of SharePoint. And now I'm going to go back to my slide deck and go into Power Automate and focus more on how Power Automate comes together with SharePoint. Any questions so far, Tim? Nick?
Yeah, I got a question just about the branded SharePoint that we had, or that you had pulled up, as if they need to build their own layout and graphics to do that.
Yeah, so yes, you can. Obviously, you'll have to have your HTML pages and your CSS, and then you'll have to embed that into your branded portal. The important thing to note there is that a branded portal uh, can be as much branded as you want. So you can templatize some of the sites, and then you can reuse that branding. So, for example, if you have multiple departments, you can create one departmental site and templatize it, and then use it for all the other departments. So it's not a lot of effort. And then you can also kind of make just a home page branded and use out of the box branding for some of the inner pages.
Okay, and then a follow-up question to that was, how much time does that usually take to build an intranet like that?
It depends. It's difficult to answer, but for example, the one that I showed you for AlphaBOLD, we were able to start and have it build up in a matter of maybe a month or something like that. Where we just branded it, worked with our designer, incorporated that design, and then obviously SharePoint is a living system. You add content to it, you keep it up to date. So then it takes its own course of life based on user adoption. But for me, based on 15 plus years of experience with SharePoint, the most important thing with SharePoint is user adoption. So start small, just build a few things that you know everybody will use and will need, and then enforce that. Because sometimes I see companies, they upload documents into SharePoint, but then they're still sharing those documents via email attachment. So there's no point because you're not necessarily leveraging the single source of truth and versioning of SharePoint and sharing documents through that, so that you don't have like these huge mailboxes and everybody is looking for that document when it needs to be sent out to your external customer. So those things are very, very important to consider. But yeah, you can have a nice looking intranet up and running in a month.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to our first component within Power Ecosystems. We're going to be talking about Power Apps. So the best thing about Power App is, and the way Microsoft has been kind of bombarding probably people with the marketing on that, is that they have tried to build it so that you don't need help from consultants like us or developers, or you don't need a computer science degree. And this whole concept of citizen developer, where you kind of could start and do basic things, basic CRUD operations on an application without writing a single line of code, which is amazing. And it lives up to that promise as well. So it's not that it's just what they have been pitching and it doesn't do that. And I'll show you examples of that, and you'll be able to hopefully relate to that, as well as see how easy it is for you to use some of those Power Apps. Then it's cross-platform support, so it allows you to connect with so many different systems. It allows you to deploy in both on-prem and online model. It is responsive layout, so you build it and it works on your tablets, on your laptops, on your mobile phones. And Obviously, it's a very component-driven design approach. So you kind of have a drag and drop canvas where you can pull in fields from your data sources, and then you can build upon that. And obviously, if you want to go deeper into that and you want to extend on that basic application, you can write code and extend that. So from the understanding standpoint as it relates to SharePoint, so the way I would like for you to think about this is that this is PowerApp and Flow together, right? And you would use these to build apps on, say, a normal database here. But think of SharePoint as that database. So imagine that SharePoint lists are your databases, and then you want to build nice interfaces on top of that. Those of you who are familiar uh, with InfoPath used to be with SharePoint. It has reached its end of life. Microsoft is not supporting that. But you could do lots of forms in there, and you could automate a lot of processes using that. So it can replace that for you, where you can do a lot of forms and CRUD operations within Power Apps, and it can use the SharePoint list. And we will showcase that Microsoft has spent a lot of effort in intrinsically integrating the two, so you don't have to even go uh, to an understanding of the complete Power Apps ecosystem or Power ecosystem to be able to extend SharePoint. You can do it right from within the lists that you have. So from this standpoint, you have two types of apps. Within Power Apps, you have a Canvas app and you have a model app. We would refer to a model app as an app where we start from an existing layout or a form. And a Canvas app is just like a clean canvas and you start from that. We'll show you an example of both of them. Like I said, it integrates with your SharePoint lists, and you can think of it as a derivative of Excel and PowerPoint. So you can do Excel, any process in your organization where you send an Excel out to say a bunch of people and they make edits, and you have say one version, or you're then consolidating that. That's a good candidate to be replaced by PowerApp. Obviously, some of the heavy lifting on the analytics side you cannot do within PowerApp, but that's where Power BI, which is part of the Power ecosystem, comes in. So anything that you're doing on those lines, just imagine how that can change with you leveraging Power App there. So we talked a little bit about that. We can configure new edit view forms. We can change the page orientation. We can rename our controls. And we have an amazing designer for this, which is a Power App Studio. So you can start with your data fairly quickly in that. And that's what I'm going to show you in the demo. So with that, let's move over to our next demo. So what I've done is I have this page here. It's a site collection, Intercontinental Hotel Group. Right? And in this page, I have multiple artifacts. So what I want to do is I want to start from scratch. And at AlphaBOLD, the demo I wanted to showcase here is we had a problem during pandemic where we sent out an email that, hey, if you guys want to work from home and you need the docking station, the monitors, feel free to take them. And then one day our admin staff came and they said, everything is gone. We don't know who took what. Somebody who could have taken their chair took someone else's. They took someone else's monitors, and so on and so forth. So it became a little bit difficult for us to figure it out and organize. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to build a list and an app that would allow us to borrow equipment from organization quickly, right? So I'm going to go in here and I'll call this list equipment list. And I'm going to just keep track of all of my equipment. So this is how easy it is. And I'm assuming those who are using SharePoint, they're familiar with this. So I have a title here now, and I can add quickly more columns to this. So for example, let's say I'll add in the name of the equipment in here, and I want to know if it has been borrowed by someone or it's available. So let's say borrowed, and it's a yes and no field. I just added that, and I can add a bunch of more columns here. I can say I want to add the serial number of that equipment. I can add a little bit of description of that equipment as well. So I just continue to add description here. And I can add a few more, but what I want to do here is I don't want to show these in here just because I want to show you some of the functionality from the Power Automate standpoint. So I just go in and apply this. These are the two columns that I want to show. So very simple list. I'm done. I can click on new. I go in here and I say it's not borrowed. So let's say I say it's a desk, and I have a it's not borrowed. Serial number is 1011, and the description is it is in conference room. Right, and I can just continue to add more. So for example, I can say, okay, let's do share. Serial number is 1012, and it is in conference room 2. So I'm just adding stuff. Now, what I want to do is, so you can see that this is not borrowed right now. So this is available versus this has been borrowed. So what I want to do is I want to build a very simple function where if this is not borrowed, just like this, then I don't want to see the serial and description and all these details. If it is borrowed, then I don't want to see it. If it is not borrowed only, then I want to see it. So I can build this functionality. For those of you who have played with SharePoint in the past without Power Apps, it would take you some time. But now what we have is we have these two kind of ways to segues into Power App and Power Automate. We'll come to this automate one later, but I can go and I can customize this form. So I just go in here and I'll just wait for it to load here. And what I want to do is I want to just start from a very basic logic of building that nice control where I say I don't want you to show the serial number as well as the description or any additional detail on this if the equipment has already been borrowed. So that's what I wanna build. But I want to introduce to you obviously the Power Apps designer here. So you can see as I hit the Power App, it automatically brought in the fields from my list. So I see all of these in here. Now I can go in, I can add field from my list. If I had more fields, I could just click and I can select those. I can remove. So for example, I say I don't need attachments here. I can just quickly remove this. And now I'm left with these fields. And now I want to show you how easy it is to say, I want to hide this section. So what I'll do is I want the visibility for this to be determined based on this field, borrowed, whether it is yes or no. So I want to go here and I want to say, okay, what is the value for this? It's data card value 3. I'm copying it. And I'm going to go to serial and I want to go back into the visibility. And I want to say, and this is very, very simple example, just to show you how easy it is to play with it. And it helps me. So if I say if, it is now giving me multiple options. I'm going to say if the borrowed value, I'm going to look at that value. If it is false, then I want it to keep this visible. Otherwise, I want it to be not visible. So true, and otherwise false. So essentially, what am I saying here? I'm saying that if this value is false, then show this. Otherwise, don't show this. So and you see how it kind of automatically did that. It just removed that from in here. And if I start playing with it, if I go play, and so it should, I'll check this. It should bring it back as I make it borrowed, right? So I'll go back in here. I probably have something that is off. So I'll edit this in the formula. It is talking about, okay. So I need the value equals. Okay, so did I pick up the right one? Yeah, I probably picked up data card borrowed. Value is 2. So you see how what I did? I picked up data card value 3, but I wanted data card value 2. So that's my problem. And I want to go in. I want to say value. If this equals false, then true. Otherwise, Good. So this is kind of how I fixed it. I'll now go into my, and now this is working. So I have one field that is now completely driven off this. Just like that, I was able to do that. I can do the same thing with, so I did it, I think, with the serial number. I'm going to do the same thing with here. So I can go back in here, I can copy paste this. So I want this to be applied onto this as well. Perfect. So now if I test it, and it's so easy to test as well. If somebody has borrowed something, it won't show me those details. If it's not borrowed, then it will show. Very simple logic, I know. But I want to just show you, so I'm making my changes. I started from within SharePoint context. I made my changes and I click on back to SharePoint. I say save and publish. And I want to show you how this would function within SharePoint now. So I come in here, this is my list, equipment list. And I say, oh, desk, it's not borrowed. So it should show me all the details. It does. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take this. So I save this. So the next person that comes in, this is borrowed now. So if they come in, they would not see these values. So if I need to probably publish it again, but it needs to come back in where it should not show me these values and it should work on this. So if I go back in here, probably need to refresh this. Yeah, you saw it took some time to load that, and now it's not showing me because it's borrowed. So it has hidden those two fields that we had. If I open up the second item in here, you see I see these items because it is not borrowed. So just very basic functionality. But next, what I want to do is I want to show you. I'm starting here in context of SharePoint, so it gives me that whole canvas to play around with. What I want to do next is I don't want to start from a SharePoint, from within SharePoint. I want to just go to my, give me 1 second here. I want to go into my Power Apps. Any questions so far, Nick, for me? Any additional questions you have?
Yeah, we had a excuse me, a question come in, and it was they'd heard PowerApps being slow. Wondering if that's your experience as well working with it.
Okay, that's a loaded question. Yes, Power Apps can. I shouldn't start with the yes, but Power Apps were a bit slow. Microsoft has made a ton of improvements on that, and the newer versions of Power App are better. I would still say that at times they can take some time to. So you have to understand the how you want to load data, how you want to cache data, especially as your underlying backend systems would grow. That's where it's important to be able to understand some of those things.
Okay.
Any other question?
There's one more, and I think it's just relation because we're having a lot of internal stuff. There's a question as far as can external users access the Power Apps?
So no, I mean, unless they have a license, they cannot access Power Apps.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go in now, and I'm gonna start from a create canvas app blank, right? So I'm gonna go in here. I will say I want to create this new Power App. I want to call it again equipment tracking. And I want to have the format of this orientation. And I will show you now. So essentially, we are starting from scratch without anything. I want to build this app for you. And usually we do this app in a day, but we'll probably try to do app in 5 minutes here because we are in the middle of this webinar. So what the first thing I want to do is I want to leverage the data that I have, which was that equipment list that you saw. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, okay, I want to pull in data from my SharePoint list. So I go in and I select my SharePoint list, and it is going to say, okay, which site URL. So you remember I was using that Intercontinental Hotels. So I'm going to select that. And now it is showing me all of the lists that I have. So I want to use this one. This is the one that I just created. So I'm going to say connect here. As I do this, it's kind of connected and made a connection with that. And I want to do first thing is I want to just go into the layout, and I want to just bring this in just to show you guys that this is connected and I can pull my data from that list. So I do that, and you see it's bringing in those two items that I have. I want to just place it up here for now. So imagine what we are trying to do here from a blank canvas is we want to build CRUD operations, right? I want to start from a list, and I want to be able to create items. I want to be able to read items. I want to be able to update them. I want to be able to delete them. So I try to show you that within this canvas that I have. So we started from the view, right? So we are essentially done with the read. I play this, oh, I can see it, perfect. One thing that you guys have to be careful with is always save this because otherwise you can lose your data. So I'm going to just hit save here. It's going to save it. And then after the read operation, I'm going to come back now. And the next thing I want to do is I just want to be able to search on this data. I want to show you how easy that is. I'll not worry about the look and feel of this for now, but I come in here, I'll say, okay, this is enter search text. Okay, I'll put that in, and it's a label. So anybody who comes in, they can put in their search text. I bring in a text input field. So this is my text input field. This is going to be my search text field. All right, so I come in here, I say search text here as well. And then I want the search results that would happen on this to be displayed within my Canvas app. So I'll go and I have multiple here tools available. So I just want to have this list box come in here. I bring in this list box, and the name of this list box is listbox1, as you can see. And what I want to do is I'm telling this list box that you pick up items from my equipment list. And I don't want to see random values. Just show me the title is what I'm going to tell it. So I'm going to just say title. So I have this here. Now what I'm going to do is I want to be able to say I don't want to see all the items. Like right now you see how it says items equipment list. I want to see items based on the search criteria in this box, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a filter here. So I'll say filter this list. So I'm going to use the list equipment list and filter it based on if it starts with function is what I'm going to use. And I will say take the value of title, which is again an element within the list, as I was showing you. So for example, you can see its title here. So I select that and I say based on the value. Now I don't know what's the name of this field. So I can click on this. It tells me that, oh, this is text input one. Take this text input one back in here, and you see how it remembers what I had written so far. I take it, I put it back, I say text here, and boom, I'm done. So I've this just like that. What I've done is I've built my my search. Let's try it out. I go in here and I say desk. It's not working. So let's see why it's not working. Okay, so let's look at this. So I say filter equipment list, start with my text input one. I guess I am missing a, that's why it's not working. Perfect. So you see I have desk here, so it's showing me desk now. So let me just show this to you again. I come in here, I say chair, or just write starts with, so CH, it's bringing chair. I write desk. Now I have a search feature in here. The next thing, just like we were discussing, I want to do is I want to be able to do CRUD operations. So I want to do edit. So I want to select this and I want to be able to edit it. So what I do is I just pull in the edit form here and I embed it in here. And I don't like what it did. Sorry about that. Okay, perfect. So I put this in here. I say, okay, data. Obviously, my data source is going to be the same. So I come in here. I say, this is the same data source for me. And it's showing me all these fields. I can click on edit fields, just like I showed you before. I can remove some of the fields here. I don't care about editing serial number and stuff for now. I'm just going to say just edit, or maybe I can do serial number. Bring that back. Sorry about that. So I can add in serial number in here as well. So I want to just do these fields. I don't want to do all the fields, but I want to be able to just edit these fields. So I have this in here. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that as this item is selected, load that into the edit, and then I want to be able to change that and save it. So I'll go one by one. First, as I select in here, I go into on select, and I'm going to say that on select, just set a variable. So this, what I'm doing right now, you might say, okay, this is going a little bit deeper into understanding of Power Apps, but still what I'm doing is, you can see on out of the box. So I just go in here and I say text selected, it has a value of 1. So I'm essentially saying just set this one variable for me. So whenever I select something, it would set that variable. And then I go into this and I say that the load of items that you have here, you should have like an if statement, which is if the variable that I have, which is text selected, equals 1, then just load the item from the list box 1, which is my list box right here. So I say load the selected item from it. Sorry about that. And I just go in and I say selected, the third one here. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to also load the data table selected. So I have a data table in here. I don't know the name of my data table, so let's check that. I think it's data table 1 because it's recommending that, but we will be able to confirm that as well. So I go in here and I hit, and I'm done with this. So you see how it's showing me this in the real time. So as I come, I click on desk, and now in this webinar, you can see that, hey, it shows up all this stuff in here for me. So I'm going to go back into run. I click on this, I say chair, it brings in chair. As I click on that, it brings in chair. And I've just built through this search, edit, and I can go through more details, but just in view of the time, I can just probably put in a button in here as well. And I have an example that I'll show you. That's more of a functional example. And as I click on that, I can have it save this form. So it will submit this form and it will save it. And then I can add another button that would just add it. So just that quickly, you will be able to bring in your Power App. So what I have here is if I go into my apps, I already have this Canvas app, right, that I just built as part of this. So you can see I have lists of items in here. And I can go in here and I can click add. And I say, okay, I want to add laptop 2. I want to say yes. And I say description here or whatever. And as I hit save, it brings in my laptop 2. So this can be done in like 10, 12 minutes that we've spent on the demo. Now what you do is you kind of take this information and I go into pages that I have on my SharePoint list. If I go into pages here and I go into this test page, and I'm kind of showing you the full circle, right? So I built my Power App. I built it as a Canvas app outside. And what I want to do next is I want to be able to, you can edit this, by the way, but for us, we have disabled this edit. So I disabled it for people who don't know this. Mode is equal to edit. But then I can go in here, I can click edit. I can quickly go in and I can say add equipment tracking app here. And I will say plus this, and I want to use my Power App. So I want to come in here and search for my Power App. And as I pick up this Power App, it is saying what's the app web link. So I can go onto this app that I have, like I was showing you. I can click on the details, and I can copy paste this URL from here. I do this, and I come back into my page. I say, okay, this is the app I want to use. I don't want any borders. I don't like it. And I'm going to publish this. And just like that, now I have this whole app within my page. So imagine that if I had it on my home page. So you can do your automation, you can embed them, people can come in, you would have user adoption on SharePoint, you would have complete end-to-end flows using Power Apps, you'll be able to perform complete CRUD operations. So with that, I'm going to go back to my slide deck. Any questions? Any other questions on this, Nick?
I just had one, and it was, do we offer training on Power Apps? And I think I can answer that and say yes, yes we do.
Awesome. So the next thing I want to cover is Power Automate. And I am a bigger fan of Power Automate than Power Apps because Power Apps we could still do through various ways. We could build custom web parts in SharePoint at least, and we could do a bunch of other stuff to be able to do CRUD operations. But integrations used to be complex, especially with considering all the authentication pieces for bigger organizations and enterprises that we work with. And Power Automate solves all of that for you. So with that, you can automate tasks within Power App. You can access data that reside anywhere within 365, within Power Platform, and then you also have external connectors, and you can pull data from them as well. So you can do very complex integration in a matter of minutes. Obviously, there is no barrier to what you cannot do with it, but here are some of the use cases. You can use it for notification. You can use it for synchronizing files. You can use this for organizing data. You can automate your approvals like I showed you that we are doing for blog. And the best thing is, just like anything else, you have this library where you have pre-built flows. So for example, you already have a flow that integrates SharePoint with MailChimp. You already have a flow that would integrate it with Dynamics or Salesforce or any other CRM system for that matter. So I welcome you guys to go on to this flow.microsoft.com and explore some of these. And in terms of the capability and reviewing it from the context of SharePoint, for those of you who have built custom workflows in SharePoint, you would remember how difficult it was. You had to build a custom action, you had to write custom code, then you would kind of make a trigger on an event within a list, and that is how you used to do it. But now it's as simple as adding a button to your Power Apps and then just calling the flow. And I'll show you an example of that. Then the next one is, why would you go about it? Doing this, obviously, because this is required and it saves you time and it reduces all sorts of risk. You don't have to do any manual data entries, and it helps you grow your business. Just like Power Apps, it's a low-code workflow builder that Power users can use. So similar to Power Apps, you're a citizen developer. You don't need to know coding and stuff to be able to do that. It's an event-driven architecture, so you can have your triggers and stuff. It's very flexible. It's easy to integrate with Power Apps, which is what I'm going to showcase. And obviously, they can be started from SharePoint lists, which is a huge plus. Okay. So in here, you also see that you can have multiple recurrence and Power App control selected. You can have files, emails, you can create files, you can send emails, you can send tweets because it integrates with so many other systems as well. So I'm going to now show you an example of Power Automate here quickly. Time check, I think we are okay, but I try to go a little fast on this. So let me bring in here. So I've created this equipment list for you guys. And now I can go in here and I can say, I want to link it with a Power Automate flow. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go in and I want to customize this form again, and I want to add a button where I want to say notify someone when somebody borrows the equipment. So I'll just go and I'll show you how easy that is. I'm kind of combining Power App and Power Automate just to give you a perspective on that. So here I will add a button. So I want to just go in here. I want to say I want to add a button here. And this button would say send email notification. Okay, perfect. I use this, and anytime somebody comes in and they click on this, an email notification, I want it to send a flow. So what you do is you just go on actions on the top. And as you click on your Power Automate, it will show you the flows that you already have in the system. And I'll show you how to build this as well. But I'm just going to, for now, select the send email for Power App. And you see how it says adding. And as it adds, it is going to show me these two variables. And this is amazing, and I'll show you it in a bit. It means that my flow takes two variables. It takes the subject for the email and takes the body. So for now, I will just hard code this. I'll say subject is item borrowed. And I will say The second body is thank you for, this is just an update. Let's do this. All right, with that, I'm done. So if I go in here and I test it out and I click this button, my expectation is that a flow is running and that flow is going to send out an email. So what I'm going to do next is I'll go back to my page and I want to see Power Automate and say, see my flows. So in here, just like Power Apps, you have your flows listed in here. And I use this one, which is send an email from Power App. And you can see that 21 seconds ago, it triggered this flow for me. And I can go in here and I can see exactly what happened with this flow. So I come in here, it should show me in a second as it loads that it has sent out an email. And I should have received this email as well. So I'm going to open up this email while it loads in my inbox. And you can see that this is an email coming from Flow. It is saying, item borrowed, this is just an update. So just like that, with Flow, I was able to send an email out. Now I want to show you, obviously, how this flow is built as well. So what I wanted to just show you this, but very quickly, I'll build a new flow for sending an email notification. Go on create, and it has given me multiple options. Unfortunately, I couldn't go through all these options with you today. Only reason for that is because I wouldn't be able to do justice to them. But this new one is UI Flow, which allows you to do robotic process automation. So if you have some old COBOL-based application and you're like, what the hell do we do with these? Because there's so much IP in them. And you can still automate some of those screens and steps using this because it's just like a virtual agent opening up an application and doing stuff for you. But for now, I'm just going to start from this one, and I'll skip this piece. And in here, I say, I want this flow to be PowerApp based. It should be triggered from the PowerApp. And I add in a step, and you already have pre-built steps. So just like I was showing you, my step is to send an email. I send an email, and as I go in here, it allows me to select two lists. The reason I got that email is because I had my name in the to list. I'm going to just use Nick. So let's say send it to Nick from subject. The reason it was showing me those two parameters that you saw here, you remember these two parameters, is because as I'm on my flow, I said that ask in Power App for this. And it's smart enough, it automatically creates a nice name for it. You see how it created send email notification, name of my flow underscore subject. And same thing here. As I go in here, I would say dynamic content, see more, ask in Power App. So I'm saying ask for these two parameters within your Power App. And then I showed you how to kind of wire them together where I had a button and I just went on action and selected it and send it up. So that's how easy it is to build that. And unfortunately, because of the time, I won't be going into flows more than this, but we are using flows extensively within our organization. Some of the flows, they can become complex as well. So you have to kind of understand that branching logic. Otherwise, what we have seen is that even if the flow is running correctly, if you want to follow all those branches, it can be complicated. So piece of advice there is that break it down into multiple flows, break it down into small chunks and do small operations within the flow. Any questions on this, Nick?
We had one come in, and it was if we want to integrate with external applications, is that doable with Power Automate?
Absolutely. That's like I mentioned, it has pre-built connectors. So you can go in and you can do a lot with Power Automate and pull in data from external sources for sure. Yeah.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
That was it.
All right. So now the next one is Power BI. So we don't have obviously a lot of time, and we won't be going into a lot of detail of Power BI. We have done a bunch of webinars on Power BI, and we love Power BI here at AlphaBOLD. So all I want to do is I want to show you how easy it is to, obviously, probably you would have seen that Power BI is amazing and it allows you to just build these amazing dashboards. But this is not so amazing. This is just a PTO dashboard that we use here at AlphaBOLD. Maybe an idea for you guys if you're not using it. It helps us see, okay, who is on PTO. So for example, in November, I can go in and I can say, okay, who is on PTO on Tuesday? and I know Faraz has put in a PTO. So everybody in the organization would know. On November 30th, if I want to check, okay, who's on PTO, so one has put in some time off on November 30th. People don't go around asking each other. But what I want to show you is this is a dashboard. I like it. I want to embed it into my site. It's very easy. I do exactly what I showed you before. So I go to my pages again on the left, and let's do this quickly here. And I'll go to the test page that I have where I had embedded previously a PowerApp. And now what I want to do is I want to embed Power BI in there. And again, just like I was showing you, it's very, very easy to do that. So I go into my edit mode. And you don't have to do this one manual step I do. You can just click on edit, just like I did before. And now I'm going to add in another section here. And this time I want to say pull up Power BI. So I select that. It will ask me for the URL of this report. I copied it, so I'll just put that in. And just like that, I have now a Power BI amazing PTO report within my SharePoint page. So I have a SharePoint page which has PTO report from Power BI, a nice equipment tracking from Power Apps. I have this another application which is like your org chart. And this is how kind of Power Ecosystem makes it a lot easier and simpler for you to build amazing intranets within SharePoint. And we're super excited with what the platform allows us to do. But I guess I don't want to take any of Nick's time, so I want to hand it over to you, Nick.
Thank you. Before we wrap everything up, I'll try to do this as quick as possible. I wanted to throw out one more poll to you guys now that you've seen kind of what Power Apps and Power Automate can do. So I'm going to launch this and basically kind of want to see if you guys see anything within your SharePoint that you think you can start utilizing Power Apps or Power Automate. All right. Good. So looks like quite a few of you are saying yes, which is good to know. I'm glad we touched on something that you found valuable. We'll keep this going for just a couple more seconds here. Let everybody get their votes in. All right. Thank you very much for sharing. So next steps, if you guys are interested in Power Apps or Power Automate or even Power BI for SharePoint, please let us know. We would love to set up either a workshop or a demo for you where we can brainstorm with you, see kind of what you're using now, and see if we can kind of transform that and optimize it to kind of help your organization. So on the next slide tab, we have our contact information. There we go. So email us if you want to. Our phone number is missing there, but we do have one, so feel free to look us up and give us a call. But outside that, we will be reaching out to you guys with the recordings, and if you guys do want to set up the workshop, we'll give you a call as well. So thank you so much for your time today. Tab, do you have anything else, or can we wrap this up?
No, I think we can. This flow of these icons is a Morse code for our phone number.
Yeah, right. We'll see what they can decipher that.
Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate your feedback as well, and looking forward to more webinars. Like I said, we'll share some of the previous webinars with you as well for SharePoint, Teams integration, and Power BI as well.
Yeah, if you did want to check that out, I did put it in the chat. There's a link to our YouTube recording of our previous one where we kind of showed just the awesome power of SharePoint and Teams working together. So check that one out. If that one interests you, get in touch with us. We'd love to talk. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.